Janet, we're doing
Good.
we're keeping things going.
That much just look, I didn't even need my Pepsi, Carl.
Is this yours?
That's yours.
Yes. Yeah.
Automatically.
I think all that stuff.
Yeah.
License. So they can
No, I
prove-
have one of those already.
Oh, it just
And
automatically.
I have one of these too.
Oh, no, that's true.
Very good. All the world, man. The best thing that's happened for a long time.
If we're gonna set a new record, we gotta get going, Carl.
And go to sleep on us.
We appreciate you being here and hope that you'll enjoy your stay. And our agenda's so light, it might be a short stay. But we will begin tonight by having an opening by Councilwoman Barbara Tidwell.
Thank you. During this time, I think a lot of people are not having hope in getting through everything that we're going through right now. And I'd just like to give a quote from one of my favorite speakers. His name is Elder Jeffrey R. Holland, and he said, "When we have conquered this, and we will, may we be equally committed to freeing the world from the virus of hunger, freeing neighborhoods and nations from the virus of poverty." And I think that we need to look ahead and know that there is hope and that we have a responsibility and a commitment to future generations to get through this and give them hope also. And I'd like to finish my comments in a prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful to Thee for this great valley that we live in. We're grateful for this wonderful country that we have been blessed to be born in also. We're grateful for the founding fathers and for their great insight into what needed to be done to establish this great country. We're grateful, Heavenly Father, to serve our community in the positions that we hold, and we pray that we would have wisdom and knowledge in knowing what to do what is best for this valley that we live in. We're grateful, Heavenly Father, for all that Thou hast given to us, and we pray for a special blessing upon those who are suffering from the virus, that they could be healed and that we would have compassion upon others, that we would be able to get through this in a spirit of unity and not have divisiveness in our country and our valley and wherever we may be. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
If you will please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda for tonight?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And approval of our minutes from our last meeting of August 25th. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I would like to make a clarification. On page 2, where we talked about the letter to the governor, I don't think it was clear that the council had already approved going to Green or sending the letter, and this was mostly just approval as to form and timing of the letter. Wondered if we could make that clarification.
Say that again.
So the council had already approved going to green, and so they,
It was never in the minutes, so to speak.
well, we had voted clear back in June, and so that's still held, from my understanding. So this, what we approved was approval as to form and timing in the letter, to send the letter. So I wondered if we could make that clarification in the minutes.
I'll just talk to you later because I'm still not sure what you wanted to say, but we'll talk about it later. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm a little dense tonight, I guess.
Oh, that's okay. I'm probably not explaining it very well. So I would move to approve the minutes with an adjustment and a clarification about the letter to the governor.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. All right, any other follow-up to the minutes of our last meeting? Okay. We need to excuse our county executive tonight. Mr. Butters is ill today and so isn't with us, and so we will forego his report. We do have the expense report that was part of our packet and on the warrant register, so I don't, anybody have any questions or concerns on that? Okay. All right, we'd have no consent agenda tonight, no items of special interest. We have a department report from the IT department. Bart? You've been reporting to us all afternoon, trying to get us set up on the email. Janine, help him. He needs help with the computer.
Help me with some of that IT. All right, well, thank you for the opportunity to present to y'all. When Janine asked me long ago, actually she called me Friday night on my way home, and I'm like, a holiday weekend, and you're going to ask me to present the day we get back. But I do appreciate the opportunity, and I'm just busting on Janine. I have no problem doing it. But it didn't give me a lot of time to think, so we'll see. This thing isn't working. Let's use this one. Wanted to talk about, I thought, what are the most important things to talk about? So I thought people probably number one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about people and what I'm doing with my department, and have worked with HR and some others. Some of the projects we're working on, and then a little bit about capital, because IT seems to be always wanting to buy a bunch of capital stuff. So I thought I'd have a good conversation on why and how and what we do. So in the past, we have had really just kind of three main job codes in the county. IT Tech 1 and 2 were combined, and we've had a couple of network categories. This year we aligned them into families. So with the help of Amy and a lot of writing of descriptions and stuff, and I'm still not done doing that, but we're going to align our technical staff a little bit differently, and we're going to give them some career opportunity growth. Because one of the feedbacks that I get during appraisals and talking to people is, I'm kind of in this job and I don't know where I'm going. There isn't a clear plan. So I've laid out a clear direction for people to go. We just hired Corey Mon as an IT Tech 1. He has something to look forward to. He just hit his 6th month, has his appraisal, and he's doing really well. And now I can tell him what he can look forward to over the next 15, 20 years, however long he will stay with the county. But there's an obvious progression through each of these families, and it's higher and higher responsibility, a little more supervision to be given, to be administered, and then some ownership and some leadership. Because I'm a firm believer that everybody's a leader at a certain level. Even a new hire who's brand new to the job is going to lead out in lots of different areas. But ultimately what you end up is an ownership of all the systems and a leader, whether that's technical or administrative. We've also had a bit of compression in the programmer staff. We have a staff of 5 programmers, and we had a programmer and a senior programmer. as the title in the past. And not a lot of growth, not a lot of area for salary overlap and stuff in those areas. So we're going to clearly split them into 3 categories, and we're going to have a programmer analyst, which we don't hire no experience in this field. We expect if you're going to be a programmer, you've come up through either the infrastructure, and we've had a few people jump over that line into the middle category. So we want that opportunity for technicians to become programmers or vice versa and have a lateral move if they choose to do something different for a while. Anyway, we added the advanced programmer this year. A couple years ago, we added senior programmer. So we really have the beginning programmer, which isn't entry level, but it's somebody with lesser experience. And then as somebody gets 4 or plus years experience and a lot of more complexity to the programming and the things they're doing, we're going to move them to an advanced title and then to a senior title. And we already have 1 senior programmer, and I plan on promoting another one this year. In the leadership, it really is kind of a limited, because we're not management heavy, and I don't want to be management heavy. So I have an IT manager that reports to me and works directly with me down at the sheriff's office. And the reason we have that is because I can't keep track of people's time and the day-to-day duties on site at 2 sites and do either site justice. So Dennis Spraggins is the IT manager down there, but he's involved in pretty much every aspect of what I do. He helps with the budget. He helps me with strategic decisions. We like to think out 3, 5, 7 years. And he helps with the people down there. They are truly a slim staff down there. 3 people to run that whole organization, which has more than half the employees of the county down there. So they do a great job down there, and I want to kudo out to them. But my job, I need the help from Dennis, and the things that I do is I like to set strategic direction for the county. So we've done some things strategically this year that we'll get to in the project stuff, and we'll continue to do that as long as I'm in this seat. I like to think 3 to 5 years out and prepare for 7 to 10 years out. Information security, I think we have upped the bar on that, probably to the point where people think we're an inhibitor, not an enabler. But that's the way security is nowadays in the IT world. It is so scary how much is out there and how much can take you down in a minute, but that's been I kind of prioritize these things in the order that I think they're pretty closely aligned with what I consider importance. Ownership of project work. So I like to think that I know everything that's going on from a major project work perspective. I may not know the nitty-gritty down underneath it all, but I know of all the big things that are happening in IT, and I attend as many of those meetings and help as much as I can. People care, really important. That one is extremely important if you want to retain people. I've been really impressed with the county. People come, they stay, they do a great job. I've had to let some people go. I've had to do some tough things here, but I think we run real clean and we do a good job, and I want to thank you guys for your support in helping us take care of the people, because if we don't, they don't stay. And then you have that learning curve of bringing new people on stuff, and we don't have near the problem that I see in other industries and outside of the public sector here. Collective budgets, like to know everything that's being spent, and like to think I'm tightening up a lot of the IT budgets. Sometimes people say to the point where I'm a little bit cheap, but maybe that's okay too. Operations, the day-to-day things that are happening. That's why I like to be here helping you with your tablets. And there isn't a job that is below anybody or above anybody in my team. And that's how I feel about the whole team. Leadership continuity. There will be a day when I'm not here. There will be a day when our senior programmer leaves or the network administrator or these top positions. I like the schema that I put out here to develop people and to grow them so that the county is always served by people that have grown up in the system, know the county government, know the systems, know the technical side, and can step in and promote from within and help them to fill the shoes that become empty over time. Any questions about people?
How many people work in your department?
I have 13.
13, okay.
5 programmers and the rest are infrastructure, which means networking, application, all kinds of stuff. But 5 programmer developers and then the rest are infrastructure. Project work. It's been a really weird year. 2020 is going to be one of those years to remember forever because of that middle line right there. Looking back as I was putting this slide together, I thought, well, what have they accomplished this year? And I thought, well, gee, in February, they just turned our world upside down and said, how many people can you get working from remote in this county and how fast can you get it done? It opened a whole lot of eyes on things that we do that are paper-based. I've talked to Craig a little bit, and I challenge all the departments to try to work towards being more prepared next time. Hopefully there's not a next time, but there's almost always a next time. But COVID was a big part of it, and now I'm not going to focus on COVID anymore. I think we've all heard enough of that. Upper left-hand corner, G Suite. It's probably our big thing that we've done this year. A lot of people that were ingrained into GroupWise and the way that we had done things forever, and G Suite was a radical change for them. One of the main reasons we wanted to get off of GroupWise is, I don't know if you remember, in about the, I think it was in the July, was it June or July? Maybe June timeframe, we lost our GroupWise server. We lost everybody's email. It just crashed, and we all went without email. It was actually Memorial Day, because I remember how I spent my Memorial Day, recovering a GroupWise mail server. At that point, we kind of said, you know, we've always wanted to get to the cloud with email, and I can say as of about 2 weeks ago, we have the entire county on cloud-based mail systems, and that's a good place to be right now. There's some payoffs and there's some problems with doing that. A lot of people had to adjust and make some hard adjustments, and I appreciate everybody's help getting there. Now, as a county, I wanted to stop and say G Suite should be your access into email for the county. I've been up here and beat this pulpit a few times to say you shouldn't be using your personal email accounts for county business. If you're doing that, let's get you set up so you don't have to do that anymore. The next, Fair and Rodeo. Fair and Rodeo was a pleasure and a privilege to be associated with this year. I think we set a trend, and I think we stood up for what we thought was good, and we saw no ill effects from it, and I thought we put together a really good Fair and Rodeo this year. Those first 2 items have double strikes because they're done. They're kind of water under the bridge. The next one, the core and the phone system, have a single strike through them because you're never really done with them. Core continues to generate and recover some of the costs that we have and generate some money back into the county. It's been a magnificent success. We're about 2.5 years in. We're well within the recovery model that we wanted to be in. So even though it does take time and cycles, there's some revenue coming in to offset that, which is a good thing. Phone system, we'll just never be done with the phone system because it's a necessary evil. Now let's move into the future. We started a couple of projects, permitting and workflow. And you'll notice that the next 3 have /workflow behind them because we have a product from Highland called OnBase that costs us a fortune, that nobody likes it. It doesn't do what anybody wants. It's hard to find anything in it. So we're going to replace that product this year with something that we're going to build in-house and be able to control and manage and mold to what we want it to do. It's going to do 10 things really well. The product that we have now does 10,000 things, and it does none of them well. So that's the pink on the couple. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, workflow is mingled through the next 3. Permitting is mostly for development services, but once we get the workflow and the program of how to get building permits and some of their very complicated things into an infrastructure, into a sequence, we'll be able to move all of our permitting and dog licensing and maybe business licensing. We'll work with the clerk's office. Whoever has something that is a permit somebody requests something, it goes through a series of things, and you end up with a certificate of some kind, we can mold that into the permit project. And it's coming along quite well. We expect to go live with that in the coming months. We've lost some key personnel here recently that might stretch that out a little bit further, but that's something we're working hard at, and it's quite mature. It's almost ready to roll out. Asset management, we've been working closely with the executive's office. Bryce has been very helpful in trying to move this forward. Those of you who are on the audit committee will have heard some about this. It's going to be a true end-to-end asset management system for the county for the first time that I think we've had one. We're going to also build it to meet the county needs. We're not going to go buy something off the shelf and miss the target. It's going to do exactly what the county wants it to do, and if later there's a requirement that comes along that it doesn't do, we'll be able to modify it because we'll know that program inside and out. We'll be able to make it do anything the county needs it to do. Document management, we've had this Highland on-base product for about 5 years now. It hasn't panned out well. It functions at a rudimentary level, but like I said, nobody likes to use it. Everybody hates it. It's cumbersome. We're going to replace that by the end of this year or shortly thereafter. We're going to save the county all the money that we're pumping to external entities, and we're going to write it and we're going to bring it in-house. And all three of those projects are huge, and they're in flight, and we're making excellent progress on them. I see them all being done at or shortly after the year turn.
Bart,
Yes, ma'am.
on the document management, have you thought about how that could integrate into grandma requests?
We have. Grandma request, actually the document management systems are the most organized and structured. The problems you have with grandma requests are email and systems that it's hard to find data out of, to extract the correct data out of. But we have thought about that, and one of the main things you do is you categorize. So you put things in specific folders and categories and make them easy to query. But grammar requests are thought of. In fact, there have been things that have just come off the wall. Pictures, facial recognition. There are lots of things that could be controversial even coming up as do we want to include that as part of our requirements or not. And I can tell you we're not going to do facial recognition right away, but it's something we've thought about because we want this product not only to be mature today, we want it to take us into the future. Storing video and picture and everything, not just documents like you'd think of a piece of paper replacement. And if you want to have an in-depth conversation with me on any of these things, we could probably spend days on it. And I'd welcome the conversation. Capital project storage, we're going to get into it in a minute, but I wanted to throw out that storage word. It's always a problem in IT, right? And James and I have had plenty of that lately, but storage is one of those things that it never becomes good enough and enough because you just continue to grow and to grow and to grow. And I'll move to the next slide. The various things was just in case somebody brought up something that, hey, what about this? What about the other? We do a ton of break fix, PC replacements, failures of power supplies, tons and tons and tons of filler work that wouldn't fit on this slide. Now let's move into the capital, into the financial stuff. Bryce presented in the workshop today the capital improvement plan. I'm a big fan of that because IT's always done it. We were doing something and all we had to do was move it into the framework that Bryce has put together, and it fit like a glove because what we've tried to do is not bankrupt the county 1 year by buying servers and hosts and all these big ticket items, so we tend to stagger them. IT equipment has a 3 to 5 year life. That's just the way it is. A PC has a 3 to 5 year life. Storage, the high-end components in the data center have a 3 to 5 year life. Sometimes we try to bleed 5 to 7 out of them. But in a sense, we're just this continual money spending machine because our equipment goes end of life, end of service, it breaks down. It becomes so expensive to support, you just have to replace it. So the capital improvement plan gives me an opportunity to say, hey, every 5 years, I'm going to need a new server farm. And what I've been doing is saying, okay, I'm going to go for storage this year. I'm going to go for compute next year. I'm going to go for network the following year. I'm going to go for this, that, and the other, and try not to hit the county all at once. So my budget just balloons every other year and looks crazy. That being said, here are the biggest capital things that we think about that cost money. And why I put storage in SAN, which is just storage area networking, so it's the switches and all the componentry behind storage, is because we're due next year. But I have a window of opportunity right now to save the county about 30% on a storage array. So we're going to actually be part of the budget opening coming up, because instead of spending $150K, and you'll see it in your CIP plan that Bryce handed out, we're going to come in under $100K and get what we were going to buy next year for $150K and just do it a little bit early. Keep that in mind as that comes up, because it will alleviate some of the budget, and we're getting a really good bargain on some stuff. Physical servers we changed last year. I'm sure you remember that, because they come through, and capital improvement was just starting to be discussed when we did our server changes. Networking, data center power and climate control in our data centers, backup and disaster recovery. These things all cost a lot of money. The bottom one is kind of, I don't know, everything you spend in communications. Phone systems, email systems, AV systems, virtual venues, all the Zooms and the GoToMeetings and all the screens that we put up. I don't know if you are keeping count, but we are. There's a screen in the next room. There's a screen in HR. There's a screen in finance. There's a screen in room 301. We put a new one in this year for BOE. Everything's going AV now, and a lot of the virtual stuff that COVID brought in, it makes a lot of sense to do that kind of stuff. But that kind of fits into the big communication thing. So I wanted to give you an idea that we are staggering things. We're trying to fit, and I think we do fit nicely into the CIP framework and the structure that has been put as something that we should follow. And I think that we do a pretty good job at that. And I have an excellent staff that helps me plan. So it's not just Bart strategy out for 5 years, it's Bart's team that comes up with the strategy for 5 years. A really strong support staff, and I hope I have a lot of satisfied customer. Hopefully some of you on the bench are in that category. But that's pretty much my my spiel. I want to thank you for your support, because without your financial and just general support, none of this happens, and we don't roll forward. We actually stagnate, and we might roll backwards. I appreciate everything that you do, and know that you have a tough job in doing a lot of that. And now, questions and answers.
Thank you, Bart. Questions for Bart?
I do have one.
Yeah, Barb.
Bart, as you say you're developing your own program so we can save some money that way. Is that something that maybe other counties could use, and that we could possibly, you know, I guess sell is the right word, to other counties to use, and maybe have some income from it?
We've talked about that quite a bit when it comes to the tax roll program. And the answer is yes, but you kind of have to be careful going into that. I mean, if the tax roll were fully developed, Salt Lake County, and through UAC, I mingle with all the IT directors across the state. And Salt Lake County was ready to do that before we were ready to say, hey, we've got a product. Puma came along and kind of changed that, and they're a cloud piece of the tax roll that's going to augment what we're integrating with right now in the tax roll. But hold that thought, because I think in the years to come, I think we should strengthen those UAC ties and bonds and see if we can do things on a better economic scale and do them better ourselves instead of the various commercial entities. It's the model we did for CORE. We were selling our data for a pittance, and a local company, and I know nobody wants to hear county government crushing a local business, but we kind of put ourselves first and said, we're going to charge for our data a small percentage what they're charging, and we're going to make it self-sustaining. There's not a single core user out there now that doesn't see the benefit in that. And they all say, heck, we're paying less than probably half what we were paying before. So I do believe when we bring things in-house and we hit targets instead of building a shotgun approach for a product that does everything, we do what it needs to do and only what it needs to do. And then if you need to do something later, you develop that into it. But you don't start up front trying to hit a target that's so vast you'll never hit it. You hit the bullseye in the first part and you build it out as you need to. And I think we can do that with tax roll, document management, possibly permitting. All the products that we're developing would fit in other counties because they have very similar business models to what we have. And we'll go down to UAC and we'll talk about these things, and we all have the same pain points. We all have the same problems. So, great question.
Thanks, Bart. Any other questions?
He does great work.
Yes, he does.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Grateful to have you.
Kind of cool to talk to once in a while, too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bart. We don't,
He's not your typical geek, the
No.
tech geek. He's got a lot of good comments.
we can understand him.
I do talk in acronyms, I have to confess right now.
We don't have anything on our Board of Equalization for tonight. We do have a public hearing to set a public hearing for September 22nd. That's our next meeting at 6 p.m. to open the 2020 Cache County budget.
Move to set the September 22nd.
Second?
Moved and seconded to set that public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Our next item is Resolution 2020-22, approving 2 grant agreements for airport improvement projects at the Logan Cache Airport and authorizing the execution of those agreements. The agreements were in our packets today. I hope you've had some time to read those. They're lengthy, but I don't know that we need to have anyone bring it up and discuss it in front of the group here, but they are paid for through federal funding, and they are necessary to improve the pavement structure of the runways, and it will allow. We had quite a lengthy description of what this will do and what the process is from the engineering firm in our Airport Authority Board meeting, and it will simply allow more traffic of larger aircraft to be able to access our airport here locally. So this is initial proposal for consideration of action. We can act on it this evening if somebody desires to make a motion.
We've already set aside some of that meeting, or that money already, it's already sent for that project because it was gonna bring in a lot of other, or not matching, but a big chunk of money from the feds.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to wait. I'll move that we pass resolution 2020-22, waive the rules and do it now.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Our next item, I'm going to skip 13B and slip down to 13C first, because for 13B we need to convene as Cache County Service Area number 1 board. And so let's go to 13C, the Meisner Fox Meadows annexation, a request to allow an unincorporated island in the annexation of property from the unincorporated county into Providence City. I was hoping somebody was going to stand up and fill us in.
All right, thank you, council. Last time, I think 2 weeks ago, we looked at an annexation that, 2 weeks ago, we looked at an annexation which left an unincorporated island. And I think after that meeting, we decided we needed a better process. That was a peninsula, that's right. Sorry. But I think after that meeting, we decided we needed a better process. Then that probably the next morning, we received a request from a property owner who has property that they want to annex into Providence, that they were thinking about doing something like this, but they knew it left an island. And so we advised them that rather than just taking forward the petition and then coming to the county council after it's been approved by Providence, to come to the county council first, see if it's something the county council would be interested in. And then if it is, then they could proceed with that with Providence City, knowing that they would have Cache County Council's consent. So that's why we're looking at this early before we've received a petition, is because we've been working with the applicant on that. The property in question, it is currently an unincorporated peninsula. So the 3 parcels going into Providence City would just shrink down the non-conforming area. There'd be 1 parcel there that's left in unincorporated county. And looking in it, it's in the Providence future annexation boundaries, so it meets that. And it's bordered by a road on the west, which is a state road, and a Providence City maintained road on the north. So there's no county services that are affected by this annexation. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Taylor, who owns 300 South? Is that Providence City or is that Cache County?
The road might be owned by Cache County, but it's maintained by Providence City right now.
I would think it would be in the county's best interest to let Providence take that road if that area is going to go in Providence.
I certainly agree.
Yeah, that would certainly make sense.
This is already,
They're already servicing it,
I
so,
don't see any reason that it shouldn't be a county road.
yeah, I don't either. Are we sure it's a county road?
I'm not positive it is. The map is, they're always a little funky. So I can look into that and report back on who is the ownership of that road.
The remaining unincorporated island that it shows there, they're not requesting to be annexed in? Then?
No, and the property owner who is doing the annexation approached them because originally they were just going to bring 1 parcel in. And I said, well, you should try to just get rid of this whole thing. And so he went and talked to all the other parcel owners and got 2 other people on board to go into Providence. So that last one that's kind of remaining, they just chose that they didn't want to at this time.
But I think it's as we look at 300 South, if all of 300 South was under the ownership and care keeping and everything of Providence, then that gives Providence a stronger ability to basically do what they need to do down the road. We don't have to worry about it later.
I think that's fair.
That parcel may be annexed in the future.
Yeah, and my understanding is that parcel will probably come into Providence in the future, but the property owner wants to hold it out until they're able to sell it to somebody else who will then go through the annexation process.
I see no particular problem as long as 300 South becomes Providence, not just where that is, but the whole road, including that little unincorporated parcel.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
From Highway 165 east,
Okay.
Yep.
going east.
Okay.
All of it becomes Providence City, and it's a Christmas present to them.
Considered assets on
Mayor Drew, Merry Christmas.
So Chris is looking at it right now, and I think he says that it's already in Providence's ownership, so.
Okay.
So our expectation has been that all of these parcels will ultimately end up in Providence. We've had discussions with the property owners for the past several years.
Okay.
Well, it looks like the one has a house or something on it, does it?
Dwayne Barlow's.
Wayne Barlow lives there.
He is East Lot.
Oh, that's Wayne's parcel. Okay.
Who's one? I don't know.
Wayne Barlow. So,
I'm trying to think of where this is.
Zions Bank is on the corner there. Zions Bank.
It's right on this corner right here.
Yeah.
So up here is Tractor Supply or something.
No, it's further north.
It's the Zion Bank Road. As you go up to Zion's Bank, that intersection, just go, that's
There's a
300
light
south.
right there. And,
I should know addresses, but I don't. I'm trying to think of Zions Bank's on the corner by, I don't know which bank. There's a bank right here.
Edwards Furniture.
Yeah, so Tractor's right here somewhere.
Tractor's further north, John.
Yeah, quite a ways north.
Yeah, Macy's and that is quite a bit further north. So there's the Macy's light, and as you're going out to your place south, it's that next light that you hit. You can go east or west. If you go west, you go down the highway by Black Hawk condominiums.
Yep.
Well, does that guy have a well?
I don't know what the situation is there. I know there was a unincorporated subdivision there some time ago. I think that's just one of the remaining lots from that.
Well, if they get their water from Providence, they can annex them tomorrow if they want. After you sold water for a year, you can take them. So I don't.
Well, I don't think this requires a vote because it's not coming for formal approval.
That's right. We're just wanting to go to the potential applicant with some feedback if it's something the council is okay with. You can either give us as staff direction on what would make it be deemed approved, or if you want them to come back for a formal approval after going through the process with Providence, we could also do that.
I think our concerns have been covered there,
I think so.
just that road, and they can pursue it as such.
Great.
Well, I think they have to come back for formal approval, don't they? I think that has to be in the form of a resolution, doesn't it?
So I guess that's the other question, is we're trying to formalize a process for this. Whether that wants to be, because the state code doesn't mandate that it comes through in a resolution, they just say with consent of the county. So in the past, we've done that through resolution, but if you're tonight saying you consent to it, that could.
You know, I really think that should be in writing.
I think you should have that in writing, and I think it should be after the fact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But I appreciate this process of
Right.
the heads up ahead of time, so don't go through this whole thing and then have us say no. I
Yeah.
think that's smart.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Just these few minutes right here talking about that, we've already solved one, one possible calamity that could have happened that may have cost them 2 or 3 weeks if we didn't know.
Yeah.
So just this 2 or 3 minutes, now they're expedited and they can move on, and as well as Providence City.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I'll pass this on to the applicant.
Thank you very much.
To make it clear, we'll come back to the county to
Yeah.
the form of that, whether it's by resolution or
Good.
simple motion,
Right.
is what's being.
But there'll be a paper,
Yeah.
whether paper or this, there'll be a trail.
Okay, the next item is the Cache County Service Area Number 1, Resolution 2020-01. In order to act on this, we need to convene as the Cache County Service Area Board. So, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are now meeting as the Cache County Service Area Number 1 Board. This is approving an adjustment of solid waste collection and disposal fees and mandatory curbside recycling. We were provided with a hard copy of this resolution by Janine, and going through this, I think from the last meeting, the only issue had to do with the collection of a compost facility fee of $1 for households outside of Logan City.
It
And
was $1 for the green waste,
green waste, right. Is that what did I say?
the compost.
Oh, green waste, yeah.
Compost is for all residents of
Right,
Cache County.
right. And now that this resolution drops that amount to 50 cents a month for all residents of the service area outside of Logan City. And I don't think there were any other changes to it as I read through this briefly. I mean, we had to do it quickly, but I didn't see any other changes.
I didn't see any other changes, but I still have a question. I struggle all the time, but Logan City gets it $1 cheaper, which I understand. The reasoning before was always because it was closer and easier. But now if you annex College, where that was $1, as soon as they get annexed, it's the same price as Logan City. And that's farther away than River Heights or North Logan. I need you to address that for me.
Well, it's 50 cents now, not $1.
Well, it isn't either.
No, 50
Cache
cents.
County solid waste costs you $15.15
That's
in
solid
the
waste.
county.
Yeah.
It costs you $14.15 in Logan City. And the reasoning has always been because it was all closer.
okay, I was looking
Well,
at
Logan
waste.
City has now expanded since this to where it goes out to Peterson and all over and clear down there to College Ward where, and that's farther away than North Logan or River Heights. Are they 14, 15, or are they?
Sure, I definitely, I can answer that question. This is just an approach to divide the community into two groups. We can make it 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups if we want to, or specific to every city, and that makes it just unlimited number of fees for every area. So the approach we've taken was that Logan City and everybody outside of Logan City. Now keep in mind, River Heights is closer than some of the Logan City homes.
No question about it.
And the same, College Young is the same. And then you have Clarkston, Newton, and those
Yeah, we were
areas.
gonna address that, but that
Yeah.
somewhere died in the process.
Right. So if we want, next time we're looking into our fees, we can look it into differently. But again, it's just a way of combining different groups and simplicity, nothing more than that.
And what for, though?
Except Logan City is within, at that time was this landfill and of course, again, the transfer station. And the outlying areas are farther to service. So it takes us more time to go to Clarkston, pick up, or Avon, or note those areas and bring their waste to here compared to someone who lives in Logan.
So in 2014, then Logan opted out, right?
No, this is, we're talking about
We're just
garbage.
talking in general.
In general.
We used to always say that was because it was closer, but nowadays that's
This is
not
the garbage
case.
fees he's asking me, but what you have in front of you tonight,
I just wanted that question
Yes.
answered to me.
yeah. So Gina and I and Mayor Drew and Craig Butters, who's not here today, we've continued talking after we left here about the fees of the drop sites and also the compost facility fee. It was commonly agreed that the compost facility fee that everybody's going to pay 50 cents was fair, and we're left that the way it is. It was David's also request that you need to sharpen your pencil, go back and see what you can do. We've looked into our fees again, what we've proposed. The numbers are the way they are, and we've looked into again, how can we do this differently and cut the cost? So we've been able to come up with the table you have in front of you that we will be able to do this with 50 cents, and this is how we're going to do. Now, if we find the 50 cents is not going to be enough, next year I'll report back. But we're going to do everything we can to make this work for everyone. We ask the communities as well as the Cache County Council to work with us and do the best we can. So we divided again these communities into 2 groups. Bigger cities that we have traditionally serviced daily. We will be able to go those 3 times a week. Now, they will not be able to get daily. Now, if there's a circumstances where we have to be daily there, we will try our best. But we think 3 times a week will be sufficient. And then we have the outlying communities that we can be there twice a week. Now, if you look the number of hours, it's 69 hours. It's more than one full-time person, which 50 cents will allow me to. So what we're going to do is get more part-time help to do this. Now, the dilemma I'm running into is a part-time person. By the time we hire part-time person, we train them with the equipment, the drop sites, everything he needs to do, it will be difficult. So what I have to do is that get someone from our staff and see what he was doing in other areas if it can be done by a part-time person. So I have to juggle this to make it work for the community and for Logan City as well, and not cut the services we've been providing. So we think this will work, but I also have some bullet points at the bottom, and we ask the cities in particular, those cities that have public works communities, not to use the drop sites. Are there also dumping areas for green waste? Like today, what happened? A lot of the communities are picking up from their streets, their forestry, trees and things like that. We request those cities to bring it to us directly instead of going to the drop site. If they do that, we will not be able to provide that kind of service. Today, Mayor asking me to keep the landfill open until 7. We're allowing to do that, and we'll do that tomorrow as well. So these are the kind of things we're promising to do. We will report to you back next year, and hopefully this will work fine. If not, I may even come earlier than that. But I'm confident that I've met with my team today. 3 of them are sitting here, and they're willing to make this work. So that's what we have.
Thank you, Isa. Any questions for Isa?
Well, I would like to make a comment, and last time I brought up the issue that we had with Logan citizens taking their green waste to North Logan because it's convenient for parts of the bench to do that in. And talking with Isa, he proposed resolving that by getting another bin for North Logan. And I guess if necessary, maybe another one if it gets.
Yes, yeah.
To fill that need so that those, so the residents of North Logan aren't disadvantaged and the people of the bench are taken care of as well in Logan. And I think that's a good resolution for that.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Isa.
Thank you.
All right, we are convened as the Cache County Service Area Number 1 Board. We have the numbers before us. This is a resolution 2020-01.
I'll make a motion that we waive the rules and approve this resolution.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded for approval of this resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes. Thank you very much. All right, we need to have a motion then to adjourn from,
I'll make a motion to adjourn from the solid waste board.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Other business, we have the USAC Fall Conference coming up September 23rd through the 25th in Midway. Craig, Carl, Barbara, Dave, Paul, and Gina scheduled to come. Has anyone changed their mind or? Okay, we're
Can I just make a verification? So, Wednesday night is when we're staying down there, right?
Yep, Carl, you and Barbara, I got you just for the first night. That's
Okay.
right,
And then-
Wednesday night.
Okay,
Put me
very
just
good.
for Wednesday night too. I'll have to change the plan. I'm so sorry.
You tell me what I'm doing
I
and I'll be
hope
there.
that doesn't cause a problem.
Okay, and Dave?
Wednesday night only if possible.
Wow, okay.
So on Wednesday and Thursday, is that right?
Okay, and then we have the UAC convention in November 18th through the 20th in St. George. Craig, Carl, Gina, Barbara, John, Paul, Gordon, Dave, Nolan, it's about 100% of the council.
Have we heard anything back from the state as we're actually gonna have a sit-down meeting, or exactly what they're gonna do with that, or? I'm wondering if it'll be similar, or if they're gonna.
I looked at some advertisements about it, and they said it's just gonna be great.
Yeah.
But they're, as far as all the details, they're still forthcoming, I know.
We'll know better when you get back from one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Member reports. Paul, let's start with you.
Oh, my goodness, okay. Well, I got two quick things, and both of them have been in the news. A lot of talk. I saw something in the paper about socialism, and so I feel like every time I see that, I have to kind of nip it in the bud, because you hate for a bad idea to take hold anywhere. So the first thing I'd say is that Venezuela, the 5th largest oil producer, or has a fifth of the world's oil reserves, just shut down their last oil well because they can't make it work. And in Charlie's honor, because he hasn't laughed yet, I'm going to tell a good joke. So get ready. So what did socialists use for light before candles? Electricity. So that's the first thing I want to say is socialism is bad. And the second one is just on masks. The American Institute for Economic Research just published a study. It had 25 states and 23 countries. And the summary was basically lockdowns and mask mandates do not lead to reduced COVID transmission rates or death. So we knew before March of 2020 the non-pharmaceutical interventions wouldn't work. We know it now, even though there's a lot of guesstimates. I'm sorry, I mean estimates, I mean modeling that says they work. Empirical evidence shows they don't. So I think we did the right thing. The fair shows we did the right thing. And I'm proud of y'all for doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Gordy?
I just want everybody to know that I thought that our council party that we had out in our area was probably as close to a perfect party as you could have, especially the weather. I mean, the temperature was great. There was no wind. Didn't have the tablecloths blow off, and it was just enjoyable to have everybody there to visit with. And I enjoyed everybody's presence there.
Thank you so much for hosting it. You and John.
I didn't host it, man.
You didn't host it, but you certainly.
He sure did do a lot of work for it. If he didn't.
A lot of work. Thank you. Gina?
I just want to thank John and Gordy. That was a fun party and appreciate your efforts. That was the easiest party I've ever planned. I just gave it to these guys and they didn't even need any help. So anyway, a good time was had by all and thank you for that.
Yep, that's great.
I did get Johnny to commit that if he's off the council and we still want to go have trout, he's willing.
Awesome. Good. We're not getting rid of him so easily.
Even as an emeritus member, you'd let us come out.
If I'm not in a rest home.
Yeah.
I need to eat one meal away from senior citizens.
Oh, boy. Okay, I had a question for the council about the alcohol ordinance. We mentioned it in policy review committee this morning, and it's kind of in our lap now. Attorneys said they're not going to bring it back up. They need direction from us, and so I'm wondering if we can put it on the agenda for our next meeting, if you guys have had enough time to kind of think about what direction each of you want to go, and we could discuss it and get something going.
Weren't we waiting for some additional
Were we waiting for
data
additional?
or information? I thought
they were waiting for us to figure out what we wanted to do.
I sent that out, Carl. I think you may be remembering that I had a memo I was going to send you and a definition, and I provided that to Janine, and I think she sent that out the day after.
We'll look for it.
If you need it again, let me know. I can have it sent.
Thanks, Chris.
It's in your emails that you now all found today.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it in a workshop instead of a general.
Yeah, I think.
Do it in a workshop?
I think it'd work great in a workshop.
Yeah.
Okay. If we could put that for our next meeting, that would be
Okay.
timely, and get it done.
Yep.
The other thing was, I talked to Matt Anderson, he called me, he's with, Senator Romney's office, and he's always good to reach out, and he wanted to know what our wind damage was like, and if there was anything that his office could do. I know there's been a lot of wind damage in North Logan and Hyde Park. I drove around Smithfield, it didn't seem to be as much, but there seems to be this core area where there was a lot of trees. I saw huge trees, several into houses. You know, it's still really early, but I just wondered what damage the rest of the council had seen in their areas, and if we needed to figure out if we need to take any action or do anything to help.
Well, I know that locations closer to canyon entrances, I think, received the highest wind gusts. And I know out in Hiram, there were,
Yeah, come to Hiram, we'll show you.
yeah, there was,
There isn't a pine tree standing anywhere near mouth of Blacksmith Fork.
No, you can just
They're
either,
all down.
yeah, either way, it's a lot of people's work.
so-
It's too bad. They just
siding
redid 'em in
stripped
the
off of
cemetery.
houses. And so, you can tell them that.
Okay. I'll just
Okay.
let him know. Thank you.
John?
I appreciate what you two ladies did. I enjoyed that.
Thank you for coming. That was awesome.
You know, I thought it was a mistake when they did it originally. I thought it was really good. I did. I thought, and there were quite a few people there. I appreciate that. Thought the party was good, and I'll bring the wine for the tasting as for the thing we had. Isn't that what it was all for? Was so they could have wine tasting? No, I really did. I thought both events were very good.
Thanks. Thank you, John.
Barbara?
Yeah, I thank you for the party, John and Gordy, and everyone that helped with that. And I wanted to give a special thank you to all the council for your support, for showing up there. And it was a lot of work. I'll admit it was a lot of work, but I was very pleased with the way it turned out and for the attendance that was there and the support that we had from everyone. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Dave?
We have a couple things. One is the wind damage. I think there has to be a declaration
Yeah.
by us, but statewide or something, or I think for us to really benefit from any kind of monies that the cities can benefit from. So I think those mayors and that really need to, assess that damage and then get that either to us or to the state so they can get that assessed for FEMA. But yeah, the wind was howling. It was howling like crazy. Last week was an amazing Black and White Days, National Western Dairy Show that they had up in Richmond. They've had the largest number of cows that they've ever had at that show, 268 plus. Not a single one had COVID.
They quarantined.
They came from, he came from California, Iowa, all over the place, and amazing. The classes up there, if you saw them, they wasn't just a half a dozen or a dozen, they were, 35, 40 in a class plus. It was great. It was an amazing exhibition of dairy cattle up there, and that's the yearning that people are really after, to get back to some normalcy or to more normalcy and just be able to do some things. And then again, I want to thanks to the party, excellent, and the program that the ladies put on suffrage was amazing. It was great.
One of the things that you mentioned, Dave, that you didn't bring up this time, that Richmond asked for some RAPS money to put some big circulation fans inside that covered pavilion, and the report back to me was that was just like heaven compared to other times.
The electricity went out, and when they weren't on, it started cooking fast. And when they got the electricity going, it's amazing just how they worked and how well they worked. And it was really the cat's meow for them for that RAPS money.
That's wonderful.
Good, yeah.
Well, I appreciate, again, John and Gordy for putting on such a great
We
party.
hope you got enough to eat. That was our concern.
Well, we were still eating,
The leftover.
let's see. I think we had the last bit of it
Next time
on
you have
Friday.
leftovers, you've got to make shrimp.
In fact, we had corn on
Get a
Sunday.
chowder recipe. Take all those little.
It was great.
little pieces
And I want to apologize.
and white cream
I was
sauce.
all primed and ready to run down to the event down here, and all of a sudden grandkids pop up.
Good.
And,
Grandkids are important.
and I got talking with them and wasn't watching the time, and I thought, oh my gosh, it started a half an hour ago, and I should have been there, but.
No, your
So I
support,
apologize.
yeah, you supported us, so
apologize.
thank you.
One other thing is we need to be reminded on the events coming up for county clerk.
Mm-hmm.
What's it,
19th, I think.
19th.
Saturday.
another event on the 17th?
I haven't seen
I think it's at
Location.
Ridgeline.
Yeah, I think it is
Ridgeline?
Ridgeline.
Okay.
Yeah, and on the
I
17th.
remember it was in an email that they sent to us.
school in the building.
Yeah, new school.
That was the 19th.
One that's shadowed by the other school.
Okay, anything else? Well, Dave, I didn't beat you.
I was hustling some things early on.
Yeah, you were. Okay, we will adjourn then.